everybody. I'm Mike Carbon from Totally Toned Personal Training, and I'm joined today by Jonathan Paine from Southwest General. He's a physical therapist over there. Today, we're here to talk to you about rotator cuff injuries and, hopefully show you a little bit about how to prevent those and how to strengthen that delicate area of the shoulder. Jonathan, honestly, I don't think a day goes by that I don't hear somebody at the gym complaining about the shoulder pain. Do you frequently come across a lot of people in your physical therapy program that have that kind of issue?
Absolutely, Mike. We see everybody from say a high school baseball pitcher with shoulder issues.
Okay.
We see middle-aged people, a lot of laborers, overhead jobs, pipe fitters, people hanging drywall over the head, they have problems as well.
Okay.
And of course, the senior citizens quite often have shoulder pain and rotator cuff issues as well.
Wow, okay. That's a wide range of people that you deal with with the shoulder injury there. Too, like I mentioned earlier, I hear people frequently complain of the shoulder pain, but the not so funny thing is I go see them use excess weight and improper form on certain exercises, which obviously is going to further a already weakened area. Now, what would you recommend for people who do have current shoulder pain? What would you recommend them to do to maybe make that area feel better?
Well, first I should say, if you're having active shoulder pain right now, that might be something you want to talk to a doctor about.
Absolutely.
Especially if you've fallen on your shoulder's waking you up at night, you can't sleep on it, or you literally cannot raise your arm up, and that's something you really should talk to the doctor and maybe get a referral to physical therapy for. But for everybody else, I'm going to recommend the ounce of prevention method.
Okay.
And by that I mean, by preventively train the rotator cuff, we can actually prevent a lot of these aches and pains and injuries.
Okay, great, yeah.
And then also, Mike, I would ask you too, I see at the gym quite often, how often do you see people, number one, using bad form at the gym?
Yeah.
And number two, how many people actually preventively train the rotator cuff muscles?
You know what, I would have to say, it's pretty often that I see individuals using improper form, like I mentioned earlier. What improper form does, ladies and gentlemen, is that's going to take the muscle group that you're actually trying to work, that's going to take it completely out of the equation. And now we have a delicate area like the shoulder joint bearing all the pressure or weight or resistance from whatever exercise we're trying to do, which obviously is going to be horrible for the small joint muscles that we have here. All of this obviously being done, I never see anybody doing any kind of warm-up or strengthening of the shoulder area to get the blood flowing and create the natural lubrication that the shoulder joints have.
Sure. And absolutely, Mike, I brought a model with me. I wanted to go ahead and I can just show you too. As far as when we're talking about the rotator cuff, it's actually two groups of muscles. Okay, you have the internal rotators, such as the pecs, that pull your arm in, and you have external rotators on the back of your shoulder that actually pull your arm out.
Okay.
The shoulder is a very mobile joint. It moves in several directions. You can see some of the tendons attached. There's the supraspinatus tendon attaching to the top of the humerus right there. And what can happen, quite honestly, is some of the bad mechanics we see is we often start to get some pinching and some irritation in the shoulder. So it's very important to use proper mechanics while you're training the rotator cuff muscles, because they're important for stabilizing the shoulder.
Gotcha.
And actually, while I'm at it, Mike, why don't we go ahead and let's demonstrate some rotator cuff muscles, some rotator cuff exercise people can do at home just using a simple resistance band.
Oh, great. Yeah, let's do it.
I think the first one I would show you would be to train your internal rotators.
Okay.
So I'm going to have you grab the band in your right hand there.
Gotcha.
I'm going to put some resistance on it. With his elbow to the side, I'm going to ask Mike to go ahead and pull in towards the stomach muscles. And this is going to train the internal rotators in the front of his shoulder. Nice and smooth. We're going to do 2 sets of maybe 10 to 15 reps is what I'd recommend. What I want you guys to think about at home is you'll see how his palm is coming into his stomach with his thumb up. That's the correct position right there. And also he's keeping his arm to the side.
Okay.
Quite often you'll see people start to use their bicep and pull a little too much.
Right.
By keeping that elbow at our side, we're trying to isolate just the rotation in the shoulder itself. Mike.
Gotcha. Yeah, we're not trying to pull, we're just trying to turn that shoulder joint, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then let's go ahead and switch arms, and that's half the equation. Now let's train the external rotators. And quite often these are smaller muscles and they're often a little bit weaker.
Sure.
So same idea, elbow at the side, you're going to go ahead and you're going to pull away from me and then right back in.
Gotcha.
On this one, the mistake I often see people do is they start to straighten their arm and they start to use their tricep muscles.
Okay.
I want to make sure, again, we're rotating just from the shoulder itself, and you're going to feel all the muscles working in the back of your shoulder.
Oh, absolutely, yes, you can definitely feel that. Well, let me ask you this, how frequently and how many repetitions and things are we looking for with this?
Yeah, I would go 3 to 5 times a week, and I would do 2 sets of 10 to 15 reps.
Okay.
And you can gradually get a thicker band or start to even add a cable column with this.
Okay.
And I also should mention, too, for some of our younger athletes out there, throwing athletes, we like to start down at the side. That's the safest position. But as you get better, you can actually start to work that same movement into the 90-degree position with your elbow here. Same thing, pulling away and also pulling forward is great for those throwing athletes.
Excellent. Now let me also ask you this, as far as exercise bands versus dumbbells with this particular movement. What are your thoughts?
Well, if we're going to be doing an upright, I recommend the band.
Okay.
The problem with the weight when you're standing is I can get resistance into external rotation against gravity, but gravity is actually pulling me forward, so I'm having a hard time getting resistance in that direction.
Sure.
So where the band would work a lot better when we're upright. Now, if you want to go ahead and lay down on your side on a bench, you actually can do internal external rotation that way with the weight, and that would work just fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and ladies and gentlemen at home, don't forget, these exercise bands, they are very easy to find. You can buy them individually. You can buy them by the box or the roll. You find them in the stores or your typical sporting goods store. What you're going to find is they have nice little handles built on, and they come with like a door jam accessory and things like this. So they're not very expensive at all. I think 5 and Below even carries them. So those could be great tools to help prevent some of these injuries. But now, are there any exercises? So we've kind of gone over the shoulder. We've gone over the strengthening of the rotator cuff. Are there any exercises that people could or should avoid at the gym, or even do to kind of maybe strengthen the area?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the things you shouldn't be doing at the gym, especially people with any kind of history of shoulder problems. I really don't like the overhead press, the military press, for people that have had rotator cuff injuries. So the idea being, when you're pushing straight up over top of your head, what you're actually doing is you're pinching, again, this tendon right here, this tuberosinatus tendon. When you get your shoulder too far over your head, you're just pinching that tendon. And there's a good chance you're going to cause yourself a tendonitis. So actually, I've got some ideas as far as some alternative exercises we could do that actually would be a lot safer.
Yeah, Craig. One other thing I wanted to point out, though, also, you mentioned the military press and why it's bad for the shoulder joint, but too often I see individuals using too heavy of weights, too heavy of dumbbells. And what happens is, when you're performing the military press, you tend to want to lean back and you kind of arch your back, which also could be bad for the lower back. So yes, the military press, I would have to agree, whether dumbbell or barbell, not really the best way to go in trying to strengthen those shoulder muscles. But you mentioned that you had some positive exercises that we can do as alternatives to kind of strengthen that area.
Sure, absolutely. What I'd recommend is actually you can do it seated or standing shoulder raises.
Okay, let's go show them what we do.
Let's go ahead and get some room here. What I'd recommend first would be a forward shoulder raise. You're going to raise straight up in the forward position, nice upright posture. You really want to avoid hiking your shoulders. If you have a mirror to work in front of, that's even better. But you're going to do shoulder raises straight to the front, 2 sets of 10 to 15 there as well. And also, again, this is thumbs up position that I'm using. We can also start to go into abduction, which is out to the side. And you're going to raise your arms out to the side this way in that position. Same thing, nice upright posture, shoulders back, upright posture. This is going to work the deltoids as well as the rotator cuff as well.
Excellent. Yeah, those are great exercises. Now, there is also one more that we could do, the upright row. I'm going to go ahead and use the band here, since we've been talking about the exercise band all day. But what we're going to do with the band to perform an upright row is we're simply going to stand on it. This can be done seated or standing. We want to secure the band by making sure we have enough pressure on it. What we're going to do here is make sure that we slow and steady, bring the elbows up. The main focus here is not how high you get the wrist or the weight that you're using or resistance that you're using, but just making sure that your elbows stay above your wrist, you're using slow and controlled movements, and that you're breathing. Keep good posture. Am I right?
Absolutely, Mike. Looking good.
Excellent. All right. So now, we've kind of gone over the exercises that we can do to strengthen the area, and we've showed the folks at home, how to strengthen the area without injuring it, as far as, the military versus better alternatives. So I would like to thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Great. Absolutely. You at home, again, please remember, always consult a physician before doing any exercise routine, any exercise program. All these exercises should be great for you, but you just want to make sure that everything's working smoothly and you're not setting yourself up to, be set back for a few months before you start your workout program. Thanks again, and thank you at home. We'll see you next time.